Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news this Friday night, where Erik ten Hag has spoken publicly about Manchester United and rumours of him leaving. We've also had Ralf Rangnick in press conference defending Harry Maguire, talking about Paul Pogba's comments. Did you not notice a complete contrast in the way that Rangnick spoke about Pogba and the way he spoke about Maguire? Very much like the press of the last couple of years, I felt. So we'll talk about that. Also a bit of transfer news, a potential striker that would interest Erik ten Hag. And Lewis has come in with an early super chat saying, all this indecision from the club cannot give a good impression to ten Hag. Problems before he even joins. Well, potentially, Lewis, potentially Manchester United are the same old indecisive, slow-acting club. But also, maybe it doesn't suit Ten Hag for this to be announced yet anyway because of what's going on at Ajax. So you've got to be, I think when you have to be fair, you have to be fair. And maybe there is another side to that story. So lots to get into. It's also Friday night. We'll get into some of your questions as well. It's a bit of a Q&A on a Friday night. But before we get into all of that, you can see that the show is sponsored by Spitch. A lot of you have been playing this. What can I tell you about Spitch? Well, there are prizes to be won, as you can see next to me. I think we've got some phones, some iPads, some headphones, all the mod cons, as they say. And Spitch are sponsoring the show tonight. Spitch is a fantasy football manager app that lets you build your own team to win points and take on other managers on the game. This game week, Spitch are giving away €12,000 worth of prizes and cashes. Some of those prizes include Premier League tickets, AirPod Pros, Apple Watches, and an assortment of cash prizes. To stand a chance of winning, all you have to do is download the Spitch app, which is in the link in the video description, and enter the free competition in the Spitch Biggest Winning Zone. If you want to download Spitch, register using their simple sign-up system and get yourself in with a shot of winning some awesome prizes this weekend. Then hit the link in the description and get playing today. Also, make sure you join the United Stand community page on Spitch, as the person who gets the most points in there will win some amazing United Stand merch as well. I've placed links in the description to download Spitch and also join our community. You have to be over 18 to play Spitch, and terms and conditions apply. Finally, we're capping the amount of United Stand merch prizes for the community on Spitch so that only one user per week will get the merch. So you can't win it week after week after week, which makes it a lot fairer. And if you don't know what Spitch is, by the way, basically it's a fantasy game where you can play it week by week. You don't accumulate your points each week. You win your points for that week and then it resets for the next week. So it does take a bit of skill to select your players, and it's a lot of fun as well. So give it a go. Lots of prizes this weekend. Links in the chat. And as they say, there's a community tab as well for United Stand players so that you can play against us as well. Ziggy, I'll just take you out the chat. It's as simple as that. You're not, if you're not part of the community, you're not part of the community. Goodbye. You don't have to watch. Amazes me that it's a Saturday night and we still get people watching our community going, no, I don't like this show. Just don't watch it. Who's forcing you in your house? Ring up the police and say I'm being forced to watch the United Stand in that household, because you know what? It's free. You don't have to watch. You don't have to watch. It's as simple as that. Anyway, for those who want to watch the show, let's fly on. TUSFC, shout out. If you know, you know, you know, you know. Right, let's talk about Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag has revealed United interest. He's spoken about the rumours about him leaving. Let's just fly straight into some of the comments from Erik ten Hag that have come out today. In football, he says, people know each other in our business. There are always talks with representatives from other clubs. That's normal. Manchester United is a big club with great fans, but I can only repeat that my full focus is on Ajax. In football, you never know. I don't want to rule anything out. I know that in football, everything can change from one day to the next. If at some point I decide to take the next step, I hope that Ajax people will understand. And look, that is the most football political answer you'll ever hear. We know he's spoken to Manchester United. He's even acknowledged Manchester United in his answer as a big club with great fans. But he's saying my focus is on Ajax. But the most important sentence for me is that I hope that Ajax people will understand if I decide to take that next step. You'll see next step on the thumb. That was the big line for me. If at some point I decide to take the next step, I hope that Ajax people will understand. Manchester United is that next step for Erik ten Hag. And I think, look, without saying I've got the job or I'm coming to Manchester United or anything like that, this is probably one of the biggest updates of the week, because it basically says I'm very respectful of Ajax. I'm focusing on Ajax and winning the title over the next few games. But look, if the next opportunity comes up and Man United's a big club with great fans, I hope the people at Ajax will understand why I'm doing it. And I think it's just there on a plate for Manchester United. It really is. And Erik ten Hag has not ruled it out. You know, Lopetegui said no. Enrique's basically said no. Pochettino's saying, please, I've got nowhere else to go. And Erik ten Hag, who's got a job, is basically saying, look, I'm focused on Ajax. I always say to my players that you can sort these things out in the summer. For now, focus on what's ahead. And I think he's living by his own rule book. And going back to that super chat at the start, King Eric is returning. Hashtag King Eric, says Reyes. Going back to that super chat at the start, are United dithering? We'll never know, is the honest answer. I mean, I said at the start of the international break, by this Friday, we should know who our manager's going to be. We don't know. I think that's disappointing. I hope United know. And I hope Erik ten Hag knows, because ultimately, if they know, we can be getting the players we want to get. If we don't know and we're still waiting, it's a cop-out. It's an absolute joke. We cannot go into April not knowing who we want. Remember the conversation I had with Fabrizio Romano on Monday? And he said, this is a great point. You know, if you want to buy players, you want to get players out of the club and you want to get players attracted to the club, you've got to get moving on who your manager is now. You can't be waiting until the end of April or into May and then go, we've sorted our manager out, because most people will have sorted their future out. You know, whether they're free agents, whether they're looking to make a move. People are doing things now. I mean, Arsenal have got Arteta, and they know they've got Arteta next season. They can talk to strikers like Darwin Núñez and say, look, we want you at Arsenal next season. There's a good chance we're going to be in the Champions League. We're a progressive team. We've got a young team. We're playing good football. We want you as our striker next season. What can Man United do? We're interested in you, but we don't know how interested, because we've not been very good this season. We don't know what tournament we're going to be in, and we don't know what manager we're going to be. Okay, thanks. I'm off to Arsenal. So United need... I'll stand by it. United needed to come out of this international break knowing who their manager was. The manager. It's not because we need to know who the manager's going to be for August. Like, the manager can come in May if it was just the manager. It's really about the business in the summer. It's really about getting the best targets we can before they're all gone. That's why we needed to know, because so many players will not discuss coming to Manchester United until they know who the manager's going to be. And if we don't know who the manager's going to be for another month, then we're going to miss out on players. Hi Mark, I see that as Ten Hag saying come and get me. Not sure if you see it the same as me. When he addresses the Ajax fans, it's good sign surely, says Dasbo. 100%. I mean, that was the next thing I was going to say. Those comments from Erik ten Hag are basically come and get me. They are. Because that's what he's saying. He's basically saying, if the next step comes along, and he's basically saying, I'm only going to leave Ajax if it's a step up, and the next step in my career, I hope Ajax people understand. So he's basically saying, I am going to leave if the right option comes, and I hope Ajax fans understand that, which I think they will. He's also saying, look, it's normal in football that these conversations take place. Manchester United's a big club with great fans. It really is. I want the job. And I think we know he wants the job. I don't think he's desperately pleading for the job. I mean, Pochettino is. He's got no job. Like nobody wants Pochettino. I don't know. There's so many reasons not to want Pochettino as a manager for me, and it's only my opinion. But it's not like people are queuing up for him. Erik ten Hag's got a job next season at Ajax. Pochettino hasn't got a job at PSG next year. So, I mean, Ince said Maguire is better than Championship level. I honestly don't see how. Only thing he has over them is his size and experience. Well, we're going to talk about Maguire in a bit, Michael, because obviously Ralph Rangnick's spoken about him. The next move really is the difference between the start of potential success and another 5 to 10 years of irrelevance. Well, look, I couldn't do the press conference reaction, Nicholas, because I was out for lunch with an old colleague, and they're not a United fan. And they brought up the Harry Maguire thing, which I'll tell you in a minute. But we were also talking about the manager. And they said, who do you want as United manager? And I said, Erik ten Hag. And he, unprompted, as a Villa fan, said, yeah, I wouldn't go near Poch. And I was like, oh, I'm interested in that. Why? And he said, well, because he just strikes me as a bottle job. And I went, yeah. And then he said, but really, PSG don't want him. And Spurs sacked him. If you're Manchester United, and he says, I'm not a United fan, but if you're Man United, how can you say this is the guy that's going to rebuild United from 10 years of failure when his last 2 jobs he's been sacked? It doesn't fill anybody with confidence, does it? And I think that is a great point, and it's probably a point I've made in the past, but it is a great point. Pochettino's got no job in the summer. Erik ten Hag has. He's Ajax manager. And he's probably got other offers as well. I'm not saying Pochettino won't get offers, but I suspect after PSG, Pochettino might find himself like he was 18 months ago, out of a job for a while, waiting for the job to come. His stock is on the floor and United are thinking about going for him. I find it really, really weird. But the most important thing for me is Manchester United, after 9 years of failure, desperately need a new direction and desperately need one of the biggest rebuilds we've had in our history. And we're going to get a guy who's been sacked from his last 2 jobs to rebuild us. It's a huge risk. Absolutely huge. Do you think Ajax could tempt Ten Hag to stay 1 more year with the fact he could get the Man City job at the end of next year, says Gabe? They could do, but I think Man City would have to let him know that that's the case. Penny for Donny's thoughts, says D. I think Donny van der Beek probably goes to bed every night thinking about Erik Ten Hag. Not like that. Not like that. He's having a kid. But the reality is, Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United basically opens up a path to a future that Donny van der Beek always wanted at Manchester United. So, yeah, I'm sure Donny van der Beek is the same as most United fans. He wants Erik Ten Hag as our manager. In relation to updates on whether he's going to get appointed as the boss, I've got to be honest with you. I think we're into uncharted territory now. I can't say to you when he's going to be announced as the manager. It feels like United have blown an opportunity to get a manager in before. I mean, look, Ajax are back playing this weekend. PSG are playing this weekend. Champions League's next week. Premier League this weekend. Everyone's playing football now. And everyone's playing football now till the end of May. So I don't really understand what we've done with this international break, apart from do some interviews and then say that we've not made a decision. I am concerned as to what happens now, because I don't see how this can get announced next week or in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It could do, but I don't see how that is any better than you know what I mean? I don't see when it's a good time to announce this now. It feels like we've missed the opportunity, I suppose. But look, at some point they'll announce a new manager, but I don't understand why they haven't done it yet. But what I will say is that he is still considered the clear favourite. His interview was fantastic. I believe he is the better option by a very long way. As I said, he is not somebody who is being scraped into the bin, which is basically what PSG are doing with Poch. He is somebody that Ajax desperately want to keep. He is somebody that a lot of clubs are looking at. And he is still the clear favourite for the job. So let's hope that he gets the job, is what I would say. So that's where we are with Erik Ten Hag. And he has finally spoken, hasn't he? He's finally spoken and basically said, yes, I'll take that job. So yeah, be good. Just on Erik Ten Hag, before we move on to what Ralph Rangnick had to say, there was a story, I think it was on United Plug Twitter, from a Canadian journalist, I believe, saying that if Erik Ten Hag gets the job, Jonathan David is a man to keep an eye on as a striker coming into Manchester United, as Erik Ten Hag is a big fan of Jonathan David. Look, I'm completely chill about this. I really am not concerned. I've said it before. I really believe Erik Ten Hag is the right manager for Manchester United. If he comes into this club and says, Dean Henderson's my goalkeeper, Harry Maguire's my captain, Jonathan David's my striker, Scott McTominay, I'm going to turn him into the next Fabinho, I'll be like, okay, did not expect that, but I will go with it, because I think you've got to go all in. If you get the manager you want, you've got to go all in. And I'd have a different opinion if Poch did it, for obvious reasons, but when it comes to Erik Ten Hag, if he is the manager of this club and he wants Jonathan David as his striker, look at what he did with Sebastian Haller. It really didn't look much of a player at West Ham. You now look at him at Ajax. Okay, it's the Dutch league, but he's done very well in the Champions League as well. That, to me, is the sort of thing Man United should be looking at as well, and this has not been discussed enough. Look at what Erik Ten Hag has done with Sebastian Haller. This is a player that in the Premier League looked like he was crap. He goes to Ajax. All right, it's the Dutch league. There's plenty of examples of people who've done well in the Dutch league and not done well in the Premier League. But look at what when I look at Ajax, I look at what they do in the Champions League. And Haller in the Champions League this season for Ajax was fantastic. That, if I'm a United board member or I'm part of the football network, I'm like, God, look at... And there's many other examples as well. He's done it with many other players. He's rebuilt teams. But look at, just take as an example what he's done with Haller. That is a player that didn't look anywhere near good enough, and now looks like a sort of player that I think another club would go back for. I could see another club taking a chance on him from the Premier League or La Liga or maybe Serie A, and that's down to Erik Ten Hag and how he's got the best out of that player. Now, that to me as a Man United board member would be, you know what, Marcus Rashford under Erik ten Hag, that looks good. A few other players as well. So, but in relation to Jonathan David, he's a very clinical striker. Obviously, he's playing in the French league. Going to be playing the World Cup for Canada as well. I'd prefer Darwin Núñez, I'll be honest, but Jonathan David is an interesting one, and it's one of those that if we went for it, I'd be very interested to see what Erik ten Hag sees in him and wants to get out of him. Could hold announcement till Man City make the Champions League final, says D. Renfrey. And would you agree about Adam's thoughts on the announcement waiting until after the Liverpool-Arsenal double if it goes south, says Ray. I think it would be worth seeing how soon Ajax can win their division, because that's and this is only what I've been thinking today. I'm like, when can they announce this? And I'm just thinking if it's going to be sort of once Ajax have, because to be honest with you, I think we've missed an opportunity not getting the manager sorted in the international break. I don't think we've offered him the job because I think if we had, it would have leaked out. I mean, somebody was saying today that the players have been informed that Erik ten Hag's going to be the new manager. No way. Absolutely no way. United, you know what United players are. They leak team news. They're definitely going to leak who the manager is. I just wonder whether this is about... And it makes sense. Maybe Erik ten Hag wants to respect Ajax. Maybe Ajax don't want it coming out before they've won the league because it might distract them. I don't know. That's my logic. So maybe I'm thinking what's the earliest date Ajax can win the league, and maybe it happens then. I hope that it's got nothing to do with Pochettino, because I will literally cry if we go for him. It can't be him. It just can't be him. You know, the thing about Pochettino for me as well, I don't want it to turn into a Pochettino show, is that I didn't want him anyway when it became clear that it was Ten Hag against Pochettino. But with every passing day, I find more reasons why I don't want Pochettino. I don't even come... I'm moving further away. If 0 is let's get Pochettino, I've always been sort of 100. But I find I'm like 300 now. I'm just moving further and further away. They won't appoint him till their season is over, says Smutty. Yeah, I mean, I suppose in relation to the manager situation, we might have to wait a bit of time now. But the big thing is that Ralf Rangnick wants Erik ten Hag, doesn't he? Realistically, Erik won't leave Ajax whilst they're still fighting for the league and 5 in a row. Wouldn't expect it if it was the other way round, says Scott Keane. And welcome to the Members Club, Nikhil. Thank you very much. I hope he hasn't got wet paws. And 7 games left of the Dutch league, says Giza. Yeah, so we'll be keeping an eye on Ajax results as well. Join the 90% club, Mark. I don't want to jinx it, Lloyd. I'd happily join the 90% club that Eric's going to join Manchester United, but I don't want to jinx it. I really don't. Anyway, let's just say this. Let's just wait and see what happens with Erik ten Hag. But it still looks like he is the clear favourite, of course. Right, let's move on to that super chat about Harry Maguire, and let's move on to what Ralf Rangnick has said today. So a few comments coming in from... let me just go through some Ralf Rangnick comments, and then we'll dissect them. So he was asked about Paul Pogba's comments, which I don't know what what were Paul Pogba's comments. I didn't listen to the press conference, so I'm going to be really, really unfair here, and I don't like doing this. I haven't listened to the press conference. I've only looked at the comments. Who's the last United player that has shown proper development? Says Tyler Wilson. Proper development. People will say people like Marcus Rashford or Mason Greenwood. They haven't had proper development. I still think that they're similar players to when they broke through. I don't know. I honestly don't know Tyler Wilson, if I'm being completely honest. Mark, do you think Mark Overmars will come with Ten Hag? No, not a chance. Not after what happened with Mark Overmars. No way will that happen, Paul D. Yeah, no way will that happen. Mark Overmars sort of left Ajax under a bit of a cloud, didn't he, for inappropriate behaviour. So I don't see that happening at all, if I'm honest with you. But anyway, let's move on to Ralf Rangnick's comments. Specifically, I want to talk about what he said about Harry Maguire, but... he was asked about Paul Pogba's comments. Now, I haven't listened to the interview, but I presume that these Paul Pogba comments are The ones where he said that playing for France is basically more enjoyable than playing for United. I assume that's what he's talking about. But Luke Shaw said exactly the same thing. So why is he not spoken about Luke Shaw's comments, and why is it about Paul Pogba again? Always seems to me that if an English player says something that Paul Pogba says, it's always about what Paul Pogba said. What would you think of Tyler Adams or Sangari, says Raymond? I don't mind, mate. Ultimately, the club and the manager need to go for the players that they want. Shrimverson says new direction means Ten Hag Mitchell with 1 year left, Fred for Bissouma or Chouamini plus cash. Break up McFred is a new direction, says Srinvasin. Luke Adamson, welcome to the Members Club. Well, you won't like what Ralph Rangnick had to say if you want to see McFred not at the club anymore, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So he was asked about Paul Pogba's comments, and Ralph Rangnick said, I've got enough to do now to prepare the team for the next game, and I don't think it makes sense to interpret or just judge what he said in an interview. It doesn't make sense for me. It's only important to judge him. And he said that I heard he said he had played in different positions in the last couple of weeks. Since the game against West Ham on the 22nd of January, we've lost 3 strikers since then. Anthony Martial, Mason Greenwood and Edison Cavani, who is injured again and will be out for the next couple of weeks. And on top of that, if Paul was still injured himself with Bruno or Scotty missing, you have to play in a different role. This is normal. Again, I don't know why Paul Pogba's comments are being even entertained. I don't know why journalists are wasting a question on Paul Pogba. He's going to leave in the summer. Luke Shaw isn't. Why are you asking Rangnick about Paul Pogba's comments when Paul Pogba can basically say what he wants to say because he's leaving in the summer? It just seems a bit of a waste of a question to me, and I don't really know what Ralph Rangnick is meant to say about Paul Pogba. He's going to leave in the summer. He may not even start him tomorrow anyway, regardless of comments. So it just seems like it's trying to stir trouble up when ultimately it's the first interview he's done since we got knocked out by Atletico Madrid. I would be discussing more things about that personally, but same old stuff, I suppose. Disappointing about Edison Cavani, could be out for another month. Goes off and plays for Uruguay, gets injured, comes back. He literally has hardly played for this club since the January transfer window where he wanted to leave. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I almost feel like when people ridiculed me about Edison Cavani and I said I'd rather sign Josh King, I got ridiculed for that. It was absolutely correct. I was absolutely spot on. And it was based on his injury record. He is injury prone. And he's gone beyond injury prone. Realistically, all I would ever say to any fan, and certainly Man United scouting department, on transfermarket.com, you can put a player's name in and you can look at their transfer history. It takes a few seconds and you can see how many injuries they've had in the last 2 years. And if they've had more than 5, I really wouldn't look at buying them. But United seem to do it all the time. Eric Bailly, 3 injuries in the season before we bought him. We buy him, he's injury prone. Cavani, injury prone. You just can't keep doing that. I've got absolutely no sympathy with Manchester United and Edison Cavani. It was absolutely obvious he was going to be injured. And he's injured. So there we go. Would never happen in a million. And we will miss Cavani. I mean, tomorrow against Leicester at Old Trafford, if we can't score a goal, Ronaldo's off the pace a little bit, then, Cavani coming off the bench is an important player and he's not there. Any slim chance we've got of top 4, really, Cavani was always going to help us in that. And now he's not there. And now we're very reliant on Ronaldo. And can I just say, I watched the Portugal games and it's very clear to me that Ronaldo's still a very, very good player, but he's not the player that he was. He's not that player anymore. And he is prone to having games where it doesn't go right. We really could have done with Cavani over the last few weeks and the next few weeks. And he's just not been there. 200 grand a week to do sod all. I mean, we've probably paid him about £3 million this year already. And he's not been available. It's just another waste. And again, it's another thing that everyone's focused on the manager. Everyone's almost forgotten that we've been knocked out the Champions League and the FA Cup and that we're fighting for 4th place, which is embarrassing. Lots of things get swept under the carpet with this club, and none more so than the complete and utter waste of money that Edison Cavani has been. Masses of millions of pounds wasted on a player over 2 years that really, what has he done? There's been a few assists and a few goals over 2 years, but you look at strikers in the Premier League. Lacazette has probably contributed more to Arsenal in the last 2 years than Cavani has to Manchester United. But because Cavani is I like Cavani. I love the celebration, and he is a bit of a fan favourite. But what has he actually contributed over 2 years for the money that we've given him? And it's been pitiful. And really, the club should never have bought him in the first place because his injury record was there. But again, it doesn't really get mentioned enough what an appallingly bad decision that was. Would never happen in a million years, but Van der Sar CEO, Rangnick technical director, and Ten Hag manager. I'd like to see that, Ray. I really would like to see that. Anyway, also, Ralph Rangnick spoke about the situation with Harry Maguire. I mean, first of all, can I just say, why is this been a question for nearly every Premier League manager in their press conference? Brendan Rodgers was asked about Harry Maguire being booed by England in his Leicester press conference yesterday. I am absolutely fed up of it. I think it's pitiful, actually. I think it's embarrassing how we live in a world where somebody gets booed and it's turned into they've been abused. Referees all over the country tomorrow will be booed for giving a free kick they shouldn't have been given or whatever. I'm being serious. I don't understand why England fans did boo Harry Maguire. There's absolutely no chance United fans are going to do it anyway, because in the main, United fans don't boo their own players. But to turn it into what it is, it's almost like I'm in a dream. Player gets booed, and it's all over the. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. And if we actually cut through it, I don't really like saying this, but if we actually cut through it, why has he been booed? Because he's been crap this season. Basically, that's the truth, isn't it? If he'd been like player of the month for the last 3 years for United, 3 months, and he was booed, you'd be like, oh my God, what are they doing? But he has been crap this season. He has been crap, and that's why he got booed. Because England fans didn't think he should be in the squad. I just think, as I said before, it's really not that deep. And I don't know why people keep being asked about it. Man gets booed for not playing well. Man will not get booed if he plays well. Man needs to play well. End of story. No, everybody wants to be cheering Harry Maguire. I hope he scores tomorrow, and he will get. He can do that if he wants. He can do whatever he wants. I think he needs to do it more than one game. I think one of the biggest problems we have at our football club is that someone can play crap for 3 months. They have one good game, and everyone says they're back. But that's why we are where we are. We're out the Champions League. We're out the FA Cup, and we're in an embarrassing scramble to try and get fifth. Because a lot of people in our fan base celebrate shit. Like one good performance. Oh, well, that's my man. That's my midfielder. That's my centre-back. Next week, they're making a mistake again. You will end up where we are this season if you celebrate these players that we've got. Because they lack drive, they lack consistency, and they lack a mentality. Which is why we need to get Erik Ten Hag and try and see what he can do with them, because we really do lack. Anyway, Ralph Rangnick was asked if he'd spoken to Harry Maguire yet. He says, not yet, but I speak regularly since I'm here to know my position towards him. He's been a very valuable player for the team and the club. He's the captain. He said that I didn't understand what happened at Wembley. It won't happen in our stadium. He's been playing well for Manchester United and England in the last couple of years. He said Gareth Southgate said something after the game and Harry Kane. I didn't watch the game, but I heard what had happened after they announced the starting lineup. It's difficult to understand. He says, I don't speak to United fans in person, but I'm pretty sure Maguire won't get booed in our stadium. For it to happen in an international game is unusual. We know there are 1 or 2 players who have been criticised in the last few months. For example, Fred, a very important player for this team, playing regularly for the team and Brazil. I watched his game and he did well. I don't think it's a personal thing. It hasn't anything to do with Harry himself. Maybe it's still got to do with the high expectations around this club, and people tend to compare with former players and legends. Fred, Scotty and Harry are important players and players with the right attitude. Ralph Rangnick's probably come out and said the right thing there. I think the 2 things I would say that I agree with him, he says, I don't think it's a personal thing against Harry. It hasn't got anything to do with Harry himself. I mean, this just winds me up that people think it's a personal thing. Like, oh, I don't like his hair. Like, it's because he's not playing football well. It's nothing personal. I guarantee if Wan-Bissaka or Lindelof or any other player started playing badly, they'd get the same treatment that Maguire's had. It really is very simple. You're not playing well. And when you play well, people will give you the praise. That's what it's all about. As for what Ralph said about maybe it's got to do with the high expectations around the club and people tend to compare with former players and legends, of course it bloody well is. The standards of this football club are dropping. Of course we look at players and remember people like Rio Ferdinand and Vidic and Steve Bruce and Jaap Stam, proper quality Manchester United centre-backs. Of course we look at them and see Harry Maguire and go, fucking hell, what's happened at this football club? The problem is, and the reason these players get called out, is because we do know what the standards are. We can remember what the standards are, and we know that those standards should be maintained. The problem Ralph Rangnick's got and Harry Maguire's got and every other manager's got is that when he says, well, maybe it's to do with the high expectations around the club and that people compare them with former players and legends, well, we're always going to have to do that. And all Ralph can basically say is that Fred, Scotty and Harry are important players and play with the right attitude. Well, I'm sorry, Ralph. I mean, you're absolutely correct, but there ended the lesson and there is the problem. I mean, we're basically back to applauding people who try, and that's not going to win us titles. And I think that this is one of the big problems that United has had in recent years, is that I think that people think if they try hard, they should be applauded. And ultimately, this ain't non-competitive sports day. This ain't about if you finish last and you try your best, you get the Premier League title. Ultimately, trying hard is really not something that we should be championing or praising. It should come as standard. Roy Keane didn't get praised for trying hard. He got praised because he was a very good player and tried hard. I think he's highlighted 3 players there where there is a problem. Scott McTominay, Fred and Harry Maguire, there's no doubt that they don't try their best and they've got the right attitude, but have they got the right level of talent? And at the moment, there's big question marks against them and other players. And we can all throw other players in there as well, but we can't just... I mean, Ralph Rangnick's statement's very interesting. Why are they getting criticised? Because fans compare them to past glory days and legends of the club, and there's high expectations here. But they have got the right attitude, those players. But he's basically answered the question in himself. The fans are looking at these players and looking at the players that used to be here, and there's a gap in quality. But they do have the right attitude. And I think Rangnick's basically does say things quite cleverly. I think even Rangnick's basically saying there, these players, they're trying their best, but they're not good enough. That's what I read that as. It comes across as he's being supportive to them, which he is, but ultimately I think in a clever way he's saying these players aren't good enough. It's not their fault. I didn't buy them. They didn't force United to buy them. There's a lot of players at this club who've got the right attitude, but they just don't have the right level of talent. And I think he's said 3 players there, Fred, McTominay and Maguire. I personally wouldn't sell any of them this summer, but they'd probably be all on the bench if we actually want to progress. Yeah. Forget manager, whoever that may be. Who do you think should be shown the door irrespective of stature and position, says Ray Cowley. What, in relation to players? I think this summer we've got so many players that will go regardless. Like Lingard, Cavani, Pogba, they're gone. Mata will go as well. Matic needs to go, so that's 5. I think Eric Bailly will go, 6. Martial will go, 7. That's 7 players gone straight away. Maybe Dean Henderson needs to go, 8. So, to be fair, 8 first team players going is a lot, and they all need to go, don't they? So, start adding in Marcus Rashford, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Fred. You suddenly get into double figures. We can't let double figures go. What I would like to see is most of those players go that I named as the 8, who I think will go, and then. I suppose with the players that have been poor this season and probably have shown that they're not quite good enough over the last couple of years, I think with those, I would basically do what Arsenal did with people like Aubameyang and Leno and a couple of others, whereby long term you're looking to get them out of the club, but maybe sort of just phase them out over the next year. Doesn't mean you've got to pick them, but I don't think we're going to be able to do everything in one summer. Of course, as well, one of the big problems is there's certain players that we've got. 2 come to mind, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire. Whether they've got a future at the club or not, they're unsellable because we spent £80 million on Harry Maguire and £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and we ain't going to get any money for them this summer. Clubs are so active this summer looking to bring players in to improve themselves. They're not going to have £40 million around to take a risk on one of those 2 players. So they will be They will be here next season. And I suppose it's just about whether the next manager can improve them. It's going to be very, very interesting. But for me, I think there's going to be enough players walking out that door that we can't do anything about, that we might have to hold on to some of these players that we would probably get rid of this summer. But as I said, Arsenal's Arteta thing didn't really start to show fruit until 2 years. And I know people don't want to hear that, but I think we almost are going to have to wait a couple of years. It's going to be a slow burn, I think. Definitely. Ellis says no Ronaldo in the squad. Yeah, but that doesn't always mean anything. Ronaldo not spotted at the hotel. That doesn't always mean anything. He might turn up later, whatever. But if Ronaldo's not there, it just shows you again how frustrating it is about Cavani. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm fuming. I'm fed up of this team anyway. In general, this season, I'm fed up of this squad. Like, they are so not good enough for Manchester United. And I'm still angry about the Atletico Madrid capitulation. I'm still angry about not being in the FA Cup. I'm still angry that we came back from that January international break and had a run of winnable games and dropped so many points to people like Burnley and others at home. It's just a joke how this season from Christmas to now has gone. But look, Ronaldo's just had a very demanding international break, and if he's not available for the game tomorrow, then you need Cavani. Cavani was injured before the international break, goes on the international break and gets injured again, and we're paying his fucking wages. It's just ridiculous. But I do think that I wouldn't worry too much about Ronaldo yet. Just because he's not part of the squad doesn't mean he won't be there tomorrow to be part of the team. But if we haven't got Ronaldo and we haven't got Cavani, who do you put up front? You're going to have to play Sancho, Rashford and Elanga, or maybe you try and do something inventive with Bruno as a false nine and put Pogba in the team. But we could really do with Ronaldo tomorrow. But this is the problem. With no Cavani and no Martial, and we haven't really got a striker. But could be a big game for Marcus Rashford. But we've got to win tomorrow. There's absolutely no way that we can't win tomorrow. I mean, if we don't win tomorrow, I don't think we'll get top four anyway, but we've got to win tomorrow. Bruno, from what they have told me, I believe that the club will be back in its standards. He obviously knows something, says Benjamin. I don't know. 5 substitutions available in from next season, says Bart. The club needs more good players. Yeah, I think United need to be very active in the transfer window this summer, and that's one of the reasons why I and many others said we need to get this managerial situation sorted out, because if we buy badly in the summer, what I would say, if we're going into next season with people like Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Fred, McTominay, Rashford still at the club, there's going to be a lot of people looking at those players going, if you don't improve under a new manager, you need to go. If we also buy a load of players that we've had to buy because we've missed out on who we really want, then it could be I don't want to talk about this because it's unfair, but even if we get Erik ten Hag, our fan base will suddenly think next season it's going to be fine. Look at our squad. Our starting lineup next season, if we don't buy anybody, is probably going to be De Gea, Dalot or Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Maguire, Shaw, still McTominay, Fred, Bruno, because Pogba will be gone, Sancho, Rashford, Ronaldo. And the bench ain't looking that good, because obviously Pogba's gone, Cavani's gone. I remember Ronaldo could go as well. So it's still not a very good team, even if you get Erik ten Hag. So it's so important that we buy well to add players, good players, to a not very good team. If we've delayed this managerial situation and we go into the window and we're like, shit, we've missed out on everyone we want, we either won't buy players or we'll buy 4th or 5th choices. And if you add 4th or 5th choices to a team that's not really good enough anyway, doesn't matter who the manager is, it could be a very painful season next year. So we better have a good plan for the summer is all I'm going to say, because we're not starting this journey in a strong position. It's been an embarrassing season. We've been embarrassed in Europe. We've been embarrassed in the domestic cups. And we've been embarrassed in the league. And the reason that's happened is because these players are not good enough. So we better have some good plans to buy some good players in the summer, because we're losing a lot of players who are walking out the door for nothing. Cavani's a good player. It's just been a waste of time. Pogba is a good player. We've just messed up. Martial is a good player. He just wants to go. All of them are inconsistent, but they're all good players. We basically have got to replace Pogba, Lingard, Cavani and Martial. And whatever you think about those 4 players, replacing them with 4 better players ain't easy, is it? It's not guaranteed. Which is why this summer transfer window was so important, that we get the right players in. And look, if we get a Darwin Núñez and we get a Yuri Tillemans and Donny comes back hungry under Erik ten Hag and you get a Tchouaméni, suddenly things are looking a lot better because you've got 4 good players coming in there who are hungry. But I don't know whether that's the plan. I really don't. Well, look, be ready for another depressing season. I think it will be a challenging season. There will be a lot of ups and downs. Even with Erik ten Hag, there will need to be a bit of patience. I think I said at Christmas time that I think that with regards to next, I said it in January that I think we possibly have a scenario whereby I didn't think we were going to get top 4 at Christmas, and a lot of people said, you don't know what you're on about. And I said that I thought over the next 18 months things would be worse next season than they are this season. I still stand by that, because we don't know who the new manager is going to be yet, and we don't know what we're going to do in the summer. I think next season could be as bad as this season, because I don't see Chelsea, Liverpool or Manchester City dropping off. I see them improving. I see Arsenal improving. If Conte stays at Spurs, I see them improving. Newcastle will definitely improve. And maybe a Leicester will bounce back. Maybe an Aston Villa will kick on. So I can see a very hard season next season for Manchester United. And I don't think it matters. I don't think who the manager is will necessarily change that. It's understood how much Ollie brought down this club. We were a large squad with no rotation. That's turned to a small squad that can't rotate. It says vacation. And with our board, we're potentially becoming Liverpool of the 80s, 90s. Clearly, they have no plan or direction. Look, I don't want to be the. I don't want to be. What does Phelan do? Guy stealing a living, says Nate. I don't want to be the professor of doom. But the only positivity around this club at the moment is Erik ten Hag. It's true, isn't it? It is. The only thing that's kept us mildly positive over the last couple of weeks has been the prospect of Erik ten Hag coming to this club. But tomorrow, reality comes back. I was speaking to a Liverpool fan and they said, can't wait for this international break to be over. And I said, I can. And they were like, oh, God, I thought you hated the international break. I was like, well, I do. But what, as a United fan, have I got to look forward to? We are massively underdogs to try and scrape 4th place, and we're not in any trophy. You are going for a league title, a Champions League, an FA Cup to add to the Carabao Cup you've already won. I might be about to watch Liverpool eclipse United's treble over the next few weeks, whilst United balls up 5th place. So I don't really. You've got to move forward. Tomorrow's got to happen. We've just got to crack on with it. But it's not. Reality bites again tomorrow, doesn't it? When that team comes out at Old Trafford and everyone's cheering and everything like that, I mean, they're very lucky that they've had the international break since the Atletico Madrid game, because that was shite. And I think it might be another reminder over the next few weeks at some point about how far we are away from where we need to be. And this season has been a real wake-up call to that. It's a huge job. It's a huge job. The worst case scenario is Pochettino comes in and tries to get a little bit more out of players that aren't good enough. And we see a little upturn, but ultimately, I don't think we'd be good enough to get top 4. Without major renovation, I don't think we'll get top 4 next season. And I know that's a horrible prediction, but losing the likes of Pogba and Cavani and Martial and Eric Bailly and a few others, you've got to replace them with really good players, because the ones that are left behind just aren't up to it. Ronaldo will be a year older next year. Bruno has shown this season that he can have a bit of a dodgy season. Rashford has disappeared. Sancho's been decent. McFred's McFred. Varane's been superb. The rest of them have been regretfully poor. De Gea's been superb. That's our squad next season. It needs to do better. It needs to do a lot better. And I do feel that even I've been guilty of it. So I'm sure you have. We've almost got lost in this, Eric Ten Hag. Even if we get him, that squad needs so much work on it. And that's why it terrifies me about getting Pochettino. Because he's yesterday's man managing a team that's not even yesterday's man. It's sad how far we've fallen. We're not even... But look, I don't want to be negative. I'm just saying that I think we've been on a wave of positivity with the manager chat. We might not even get that manager. And if you take away the manager chat, what are we? And ultimately, this season is abysmal. And, the cheek of it, the absolute cheek of it, for these players to be moaning about being booed and stuff like that. Like, you've been crap this year. I couldn't give a toss what's gone on at England, by the way. And you won't get booed at United. But, let's not forget, you've been crap this year. Most of you have been absolutely crap this year. You paid good money. You live in the dream. You're living the life that most of us would love to live. You're playing for Manchester United. You are privileged to play for Manchester United. And you act like the world owes you a living. You act like people should applaud shit performances. Like, there has to be standards. And the standards at this football club have slipped to a level which is unacceptable. And it would be pure wrong for United fans to sit here and go, yeah, it's all right to be out of the last 16. Yeah, it's all right to be out of the top 4. Yeah, it's all right to not be near winning a trophy. I don't know what's gone wrong. I don't get it. These players are pawns in a game of chess. You put the United shirt on and you perform. And if you don't perform, you get out of the club. Even in my life, even in your life, you could write an endless list of players that were bought for good money that didn't work and were sold on. We, over the last few years, seem to have become this club that when we buy you, we keep you no matter what. We're not ruthless enough, we're not aggressive enough, and the standards are nowhere near where they need to be. And that is fed from the top to the bottom. It's a mediocre football club that's got the wrong focus on things. And almost what you do on the football pitch doesn't really matter if you're a good lad. If you've got a social media following, if you've got the right attitude, it doesn't matter what you do on the pitch. And it does. And we need to get those standards back. There isn't enough ruthlessness in that football club. It's friends reunited, it's mates rates, and it's as long as we're making money, it doesn't really matter. The standards in that football club have become unacceptable, unpalatable, and it needs to change. However they do it, they need to get people in that football club whose focus is football, high-level football, who will not tolerate jokers and messers. And that squad is full of messers. They are not focused and they are not good enough. And they spend too much of their time moaning about people saying they're crap when actually they're the contributor of that moaning. Nobody just decides to say, specific United player, you're crap. They've been playing crap. That Manchester derby was a disgrace. People forget about this. That Manchester derby was a disgrace. I would implore you, never watch it again. They may as well have sat down in a protest. The lack of effort, the lack of focus, it was just completely abysmal. But we're meant to be sympathetic. Jog on. Start doing your job and you will get the praise. And it's as simple as that. But I've said it before, they've got so many people around them telling them how great they are and, these people are just hating on you. They're not. You're playing shit. Start playing well. Start tomorrow playing well. Score a goal. Keep a clean sheet. Play well. Watch what happens after the game. People will give you 7, 8 out of 10. They'll say if they can keep that up, they might still be a United player. That's what you need to do. Stop listening to the people around you. Start listening to your fans. Because Manchester United is about the fans. And they're the only people you've got to please. Not your agents. Not your family. Not your brands. Not your social media account. Your fans. Your fans. They're the people that will solve all those other things. Your agent's going to be very happy if the fans are behind you. How are you going to do that? Play well. Simple as that. What I want next season is to see a style of play, a way we as fans can see something is changing on the pitch. Alan, I crave that. I mean, look, we might lose some games next season, but imagine if we were just playing some good football. And that's why they got to go for Ten Hag. That's not even considering the Liverpool game earlier this season, says Isaac. Well, Isaac, we're playing Liverpool in about 3 weeks' time. We're playing Arsenal away, I think, in a couple of weeks as well. So it's not like these players have got to really, really be careful, because what they can't do is come back from the international break and say, I'm looking forward to the summer, let's just go through the motions. Because all those bad results that have led to you getting criticised, we're playing Liverpool, who are going for a title in a few weeks. One, we need to stop them beating us so we can stop them winning the league. But two, if they annihilate you at Anfield again, this is going to go very... fans aren't just going to go, oh, it's just been one of those seasons. We got beat 5-0 by Liverpool at Old Trafford. At Anfield in a few weeks, we've got to put in a performance. If they humiliate us again, doesn't matter what you do tomorrow, doesn't matter what you do at home to Norwich, that's a massive game. All right, we want to be in the Champions League and we should be in the FA Cup, but that game and that Emirates game, those two games, you better be thinking about them. It'd be interesting to see who gets suspended and who's injured for those games, because I tell you what, we need everyone for those games. It's Leicester tomorrow, isn't it? Anyway, look, big game tomorrow. I'm looking... Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be interesting. We have to win. I'm sure we'll see a response. I predicted a win in the preview. But you never know with these players, do you? You never know. You never know. Anyway, look, as Smuts says, have a lovely rest of the night, whatever you're doing, or day. And we will reconvene tomorrow for what is Manchester United against Leicester. Mark, if Ten Hag is appointed manager and we see an improvement in play next year but still finish outside the top four, will that be success? I think so, Oz. Yeah, well, obviously, hypothetically from this point, yes, but there's lots of ifs, buts and maybes there. What team does he pick? Is he getting rid of the crap players? Has he been successful in the transfer window? Has he been backed? Progress could be finishing 5th, and there might be really good progress. No progress could be finishing 4th. It just depends what we do. Thank you very much. Kickoff is 5:30 UK time tomorrow, so we'll be live just before 4:30. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care, and please, check out Spitch. Links in the chat. You can win all these prizes this weekend. It's free to download. You must be over 18. And of course, I'm wearing my hoodie. You can win one of these this weekend as well by playing the game through our community tab as well. Links in the chat for that. Thanks everyone for watching. And also, if you go through the community tab on our homepage, you'll see my new Goldbridge stand-up video where I'm talking about Will Smith slapping and also Harry Maguire's booing and why it's not a good thing. Check that out. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit.